Hey, hey, hey! Heads up, bitches. Welcome to another episode of Cut the Shit. I am Christian Tucker, giving you just another idiot's view of the world. I will be ranting and raving about this week's crap that has caught my attention for its stupidity or its uniqueness or its newsworthiness, or at least what I deem newsworthy anyways. As always, don't forget to catch us on the web at www.cuttheshitalready.com. There you will find links to hit to subscribe to our podcast. Also, you'll find a link to Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at PLZCutTheShit, as well as Facebook. You can go to www.facebook.com/cuttheshitalready/. Got something good to say or pass along? Do it at any of these locations. Got some putrid shit to spew my direction? Do it there also, dirtbag. We welcome it all. Okay, so let's get this shit going, shall we? Well, hello, and welcome back to another edition of Cut the Shit Podcast. This is episode 11. Today we're going to talk about my love affair and my disappointment lately with Apple, and we'll also discuss some NFL hiring with coaches, mostly Jon Gruden. Okay, so let me start off with a little bit of history about myself and about me and Apple. I grew up on Windows machines, like most people. You know, Windows 95 was the first one that I could really remember. Windows 98, Windows XP, that was the best, I feel, Windows XP. Then Windows 7 came along. I feel it was probably the second best. I'm not a tremendous fan of Windows 10, but I'm getting used to it, whatever. So, again, I've always had Windows PCs. My dad bought me a Sony desktop. It was a Vaio back in 1997. I loved that fucking Sony computer. It was just awesome, right? First time I'd ever owned my own personal computer. So since then, I've pretty much owned everything Sony, whether it's TV, stereos, that type of stuff. So anyways, it was running Windows 95. And back then you had AOL, a dial-up internet account. I used it to watch porn, was my biggest thing. But it's so much different from how you watch porn back then to how you watch it today. Back then, you couldn't even see the thumbnails. They're so small and pixelated. You would click on a thumbnail, and you'd wait 90 to 120 seconds for one picture to download. And when it downloaded from top of the picture to the bottom. And it took like 2 minutes. So if the picture was a woman lying naked on a bed at the very bottom of the picture, you had to wait 2 minutes for the whole picture to download to get down to the bottom to see, hey, there's a naked woman laying on bed. So it was very frustrating. And that's, as a guy, when you learned about the term fluffing. You'd drop your pants. You'd get hard with anticipation of some hot nude bitches. You'd scroll through to see some thumbnails. You couldn't really make them out, so you'd click on one, and with hope and a prayer, it'd be good, right? 2 minutes later, you'd have the picture of a blonde, and she's teasing taking off her bra. Ugh, there's no fucking nudity. You picked the wrong picture. So you scroll, 3 or 4 or 5 more thumbnails down, you click on another one, and 2 minutes later, the same woman with her bra off, but now her hands are over her breasts. Oh, god damn, how many pictures do I got to go through to get to the hot one? I've already wasted 10 minutes trying to find one picture to jerk off to. It could literally take 30 minutes to find a decent picture to jerk off to. So you would get hard, you'd get soft, you'd get hard, you'd get soft. You literally became your own fluffer. Don't know what a fluffer is? Google fluffer and porn films. You'll get the picture. So let's say back then you needed to know if you were going to jerk off. You needed to know that the wife was going to go to the movies or her mom's house 2 states away if you wanted to rub one out successfully. There was no quickie jerk off sessions back then. You couldn't pick up your phone and just find some porn and jerk off. It took commitment. But the world had been introduced to internet porn. So as men, we dealt with it because at the time it was the greatest thing ever. No more buying a nudie magazine at 7-Eleven and looking like a creep, hiding the magazines underneath the bed or in a dresser drawer or some crazy crap. It was there on your computer. Oh my god. So yeah, in a way, Windows popped my internet porn cherry. So why wouldn't I be loyal to Windows and Bill Gates, this masterful man who I viewed as bringing this and other great things from the internet to me? This was the time eBay started, right around that time too. Another modern miracle. Our world was expanding literally right in front of our eyes, thanks to Windows and the internet. Of course, back then, no one was tech savvy except techs, right? Computer fucking geeks. So I wasn't even really aware of Apple at the time. Around the same time, the Palm handheld unit was introduced to the market. It was like a little handheld computer, sort of. I mostly use it to, for a calendar, some other, contacts and shit. But still, it was cool and it was exciting. You could see where the future was kind of going with this. Nokia cell phones had blown up and everyone had one. They were big bricks, but man, they were powerful. They'd go a week on a battery charge. They were resilient as fuck. You could drop them off a 2-story building and they would survive. I left one on top of a car in a rainstorm, drove 30 minutes, got home, found it, took it in, it still worked. So at this point, I still really wasn't aware of Apple. I'd maybe heard of them. I knew that artists and graphic designers and musicians, normal people like me didn't really use Apple at that point. I would go into stores, Best Buys and computer shacks of some sort, and I saw for the first time Apple computers. The first one was that all-in-one unit that came in different colors, red, blue, green, whatever the case may be, and had the glass tube for the monitor built into it. Man, those were fucking cool. But again, they were geared more toward artists and students at schools. Then Apple did this flat screen. It was on a post with a circular white base, and the computer was in the white base. Man, that was fucking cool, but it was too expensive for me. And again, it was geared more towards creative types, right? Then they had a big monitor with a clear acrylic frame around it, and the speakers were clear acrylic, and it was just mind-blowing. At that point, I'm like, dude, I gotta get a fucking Apple just because these are fucking cool as hell. So I really still hadn't heard of Steve Jobs at this point. I didn't follow the tech scene. And then, around the same time, Nokia came out with a QWERTY type keyboard phone. It was really big and wide. I had one. I loved it because I loved the physical keyboard. Then I discovered BlackBerry, and I switched. Had the same QWERTY keyboard, but it was on a narrower phone. At this point, I'm still using Window machines. I have a new Sony PC desktop, and it's even sexier and smoother running than the last one. So I'm all in on Windows and shit, right? Then portable DVD players come around, and everybody's wowed by them. Everybody's getting portable DVD players, putting them in the cars and going on trips with them and shit. But then they introduced laptop computers with DVD players in them. You had entertainment and business all in one piece of equipment. Man, I fucking loved it. I bought a Toshiba at the time. It was my first laptop. The Sony was too expensive. I'm loyal until you kind of price me out of loyalty, okay? That Toshiba laptop lasted me 8, 9, 10 years, okay? One day I'm at a customer's house, and I see they have the brand new Apple Air. And I remember the commercials. It could fit in this manila envelope. And so I had the customer show it to me, and I checked it all out. And man, I wanted this thing so bad, I wanted to steal it from the customer, right? But I still really couldn't afford it. Then the first iPhone comes out, and the world goes apeshit. And just because the world went apeshit on the iPhone made me not want an iPhone. I was married to my BlackBerry at that point. Back then, it was kind of Blackberries for business and Apples for entertainment type shit. And to me, still to this day, the BlackBerry Torch is the best phone ever. I fucking love that phone. I wish BlackBerry had got their shit together. Anyways, so around this time, I start hearing horror stories of Steve Jobs. I'm reading articles about what an asshole he is and how rude he is and how he treats people, his arrogance, and all this shit about him. It was just a real fucking turnoff. And at that point, I'm like, fuck Apple. I'll never own an Apple product. I was sick of all the Apple fanboys and people, stoling the virtues of Apple. Fuck Apple is how I felt. Then in 2009, I'm about to start my business. And at the time, I have a nice 15-inch HP laptop. This thing is beautiful, works fucking great. Then some motherfuckers break into my house and they steal it from me. So I go buy the best computer on the market at the time. The best Windows computer, I should say. I bought a 17-inch Toshiba Cosimo laptop. It was a big gaming laptop. I wanted a big screen and big processors and all this other crap. It weighed a fucking ton. But the screen is huge, and being a person who grew up with desktops, I wanted a laptop that could be both. I paid a ton of money for it back then, and to me, at least what I considered a ton of money. It was like $1,200 or something. Then, like a year later, the graphic card goes out in it. By the way, this is not the first time that graphic cards, hard drives, and shit failed. Every machine I owned that had Windows all needed new CD drives or hard drives or graphic cards or whatever. I can't tell you how many crashes and lost data I had over the years. So this $1,200 computer, it doesn't even make it a year when it has this issue. At this point, my business is up and running. I'm on Groupon, and at the time, I'm trying to keep up demand, and my computer crashes. I couldn't access fucking anything. Couldn't access QuickBooks, my customer list, none of this shit. And again, all this time I'm hearing about, how great Apple is. I got people trying to tell me all the time, you need to try Apple. You need to, do this and do that. They're raving on the hardware and how reliable it is. And the software, too. It's a closed system, and it doesn't get viruses and blah, 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 blah. Because at that time, I'm always getting viruses on my Windows PC and shit. People were targeting it or something. I don't fucking know. And I realized, I spent $1,200 on this fucking Toshiba laptop that didn't last me a year. Why not spend $1,200 on an Apple and give it a shot? So I went to Nebraska Furniture Mart there in Kansas City. If you've never been to Nebraska Furniture Mart, you're missing out. So if you make it to like Omaha, Nebraska, or Kansas City, or Dallas, they have one now, check them out. It's not a paid advertisement. If they want to throw some free swag my way or something, I'll take it. At the time, I bought a MacBook Pro. It was like, oh gosh, I don't remember what year it was. But it had just been returned, and I got it for like $1,200. So I got it home, and I was sold instantly. It just felt good and solid. It took a bit to learn the OS, but once I did, I knew I was never going back. So at that point, I got rid of the BlackBerry, and I upgraded to an iPhone 4. That was my very first iPhone. Yes, I missed the first 3 generations. Shortly after, Steve Jobs died, and his autobiography came out. It was a big hit. And because I was so impressed with the Apple products, and I'd heard about what a genius fucking Steve Jobs was, despite his being a major asshole, I decided I'm going to read his autobiography. Starting a new business myself, I figured I'll take the good that his genius has to offer and apply it to my business and myself, and I'll ignore all the asshole stuff. I found out after reading it that I deeply admired the man. I was impressed, to say the least. It changed my perspective completely on who Steve Jobs was and the stories that I'd heard about him. But most importantly, between his products and the man himself, I had been converted to an Apple fanboy, a full-on diehard. I still am to this day. All my movies, TV, music, they all come from iTunes. Apple TV, I got 4 of them. Apple laptops, I got 3 of them. iPads, yep. iPhones, yes. iPhone 10, you bet. This cigar's kind of fighting me here. Which brings me to why I am on the subject of Apple. The reason I came to them originally to begin with, the real reason was the slogan and the people who swore up and down that the slogan was real. It wasn't just fucking marketing, right? Then I experienced just how real the slogan was, and I became a cheerleader for them, chanting that slogan to friends and family, encouraging them to convert, if you will. The slogan, you ask? It just works. Simple and brilliant. And guess what? It did. It did just work on all their stuff. All their stuff synced together. It worked together. New products just worked with no software issues or hardware issues. It just fucking worked. Then Steve Jobs passed away, and I had fears of what might happen to Apple. But, all the articles, everything I was reading, I was assured that Steve had set a great team in motion, and they would continue his vision and kind of keep the train rolling. I believed them, or maybe I believed them because I wanted to believe them, right? Well, not anymore. Don't get me wrong, I still love Apple products, but they no longer just work. And that's a problem. So, Apple leads the industry for years in innovation, design, and quality. The iPhone, the iPod, and all their great computers. It has allowed them to have billions upon billions in cash on hand. Tim Cook and his team allowed Apple to fall behind its competitors. It allowed their teams to get lax and take it easy. You want some proof? Every new product that comes out has software issues. Look at the past 3 or 4 years. Their computers, their iPads, their iPhones. They hurry around and they rush to fix it with updates and all types of bullshit. The last iOS update, which came out around the time iPhone 10 came out, it had like 6 patches in the first 2 months. It was ridiculous. Phones were freezing. They weren't working. Letters typed in showing as some strange alien font that was auto-corrected to something weird. It just works no longer applied. They were dropping the ball on this shit left and fucking right with every new product releasement, every new update. Remember when Apple Maps came out? It wasn't even done. It was rushed to the market so fucking quick. There were constant reports of people driving into fields or ponds or dead ends because the Apple Maps was horrendous. By the way, if you drive your car into a fucking pond because the GPS tells you to, you're a fucking idiot. It's another story. So because of that, at the time, I used Google Maps. And you know why? Because Apple was busy dropping the ball and getting bad press. I used Google Maps and became comfortable with it. And I grew accustomed to it. So when Apple Maps finally ironed out all their bullshit, honestly, it was too late. I was a Google Maps guy. I was comfortable with it. I knew it. I trusted it. Pretty simple. So, we should not have 6 patches to a new iOS when it comes out. I should not get a new phone and have to update fixes to it constantly in the first 2 months. This never happened when Steve Jobs was around. It never fucking happened. New iPhone came out, new iOS came out, shit just fucking worked. Plain and goddamn simple. He demanded perfection, and he got it. That's why everybody accused him of being an asshole, because he was hard. He insisted that shit be correct. His products had to just work, because he told everyone they would. He wouldn't allow it not to be what he said it was going to be. Tim Cook, since his takeover, has fumbled the ball over and over, and his band of idiots over at Apple better get their shit straight and in a fucking hurry. They have forgotten all about their creators and their artists. The Mac Pro line of computers hasn't been updated since 2013. This is 2018 and they just got a refresh, okay? There's a new line coming out and it's sexy and it's nice and it's expensive as fucking hell, whatever. Their iMac lines haven't been updated in 4 years or so. They also just got a fucking refresh, but it's way past due. They've gone all bubblegum and lollipop and competing with LG, Samsung, Microsoft, trying to win market share, but giving up quality and trust in the process. They have lost face. But because they are one of the most profitable and richest companies in the world, they do not care. They got to keep the cash cow moving on. Some of that's their board, and some of it's the investors and so forth, and I get that, I paid $2,400 for my 13-inch MacBook Pro in 2015. I had it custom ordered, top of the line, fucking everything. I wanted it to last me for the next 10 years, and it will. If you ask me, that 2015 model, by the way, was the best year for any of the MacBook Pros, including all the ones since then. I paid $1,250 for my iPhone 10. People like me will pay top dollar for the best product because we know it will work, and it will work flawlessly with no issues for a long time to come. It's an investment, okay? And you always get what you pay for. But if Apple is going to start fucking around and becoming like Toshiba, Samsung, LG, HTC, HP, and others with product that may or may not work, with software that may or may not work, then they're going to see me and others like me float to other products, sexier products, products with more features, products we can upgrade. Apple still won't allow you to upgrade RAM or hard drives in many, if not all, of their computers. I have a Mac Mini right here of 2014, 4 years old. You can't upgrade the fucking thing. Remember who uses your products, who put you on the map to begin with. It was your graphic designers, your artists, your musicians. I'm none of those, but I hear it and I read it all the time about their complaints. Why don't fucking you? So Apple, before people cut you from their lives, you better cut the shit and straighten your ship. And now there's like this whole new debacle going on. It's the news of the iPhone battery throttling. People have kind of suspected for a long time that Apple and others, that when new phones come out, the update changes things about the old phones to slow them down and cause problems, so you would have to update to a new one. Especially if you had a phone that was 2 models ago. It really starts acting funky and almost forces you to upgrade. I always thought it was possible, but not likely. If a company was ever caught doing that, it would ruin all good faith they had with the customer. So why would somebody do that? Apple recently put out an update and it affected the iPhones, as we discussed before. But a studious geek somewhere did some testing and uncovered this whole battery throttle issue. At first, Apple denied it. Then they admit it, but said it was to improve the life of the phone since the battery, after 2 years or so, have diminished in life and the ability to hold a charge. You know what? I buy that. That makes sense. Why not just say that up fucking front? Why not come right out in the very beginning and say that? You're making us look like fucking idiots, or you're thinking that we're fucking idiots by putting this shit out after, when it looks like you try to cover it up. The optics are horrible. And the first attempt to cover up or whatever it was also fucking horrible. Now the media and customers alike are having a fucking fit, and rightfully so, Apple. Even though I don't think Apple did it with ill intent, the truth is I don't know for sure. So everyone is justified for screaming at the top of their lungs about this battery throttling issue. Again, this is another example of the loss of Steve Jobs. Number one, he never, ever would have allowed the engineers or anyone to tamper with the software to slow down phones. Never. He was always about quality and perfectly working machines. So this scandal would never have happened with him. And if an engineer did do this shit without his knowledge, he would publicly fire them and put out a statement about the whole fucking thing. He would make that shit right. Number two, if what Apple says is true, he would have been out, and I'm saying he as in Steve Jobs, would have been out in the front of this before it ever became a problem. Now Apple is being sued in a class action lawsuit. Oh boy. This is after trying to save face with discounted replacement batteries. Horribly, horribly handled, and someone should be fired over all this bullshit. Just this battery replacement issue will cause them to lose millions upon millions. To make things worse, Apple now says the info on the battery power management, is how they put it, was released in the update notes on January 23rd, 2017. But guess what? Someone pointed out that they were not in the notes, and then miraculously, Apple added to the original update that little tidbit about power management after that January 23rd release date and sometime before March 17th. They revised the notes to cover their ass, so it looks bad. And again, Steve Jobs never would have allowed this to happen, period. They released some notes. It didn't have anything about battery management bullshit on there, right? They get called out on their bullshit. Somebody goes in and adds some battery power management crap stuff to that release note, but it's too late. People already had screenshots and whatever the case may be of that original release from the 23rd where those notes were not there. So now you're doing this. It looks like a fucking cover up, and it's not cool. So then I just read a Business Insider article. The headline read, "Sorry Siri, Alexa's got you beat. Here's why Apple's going to lose the voice computer war to Amazon." What? Apple introduced this fucking technology. And now they're allowing other companies to take that technology and rush past them, leaving them in the dust. Apple sat there, they introduced Siri, and then they sat there and they patted themselves on the back at what a great fucking job they were and how innovative they were, while everybody else was taking it and fucking running towards the end zone. So someone needs to be held accountable, and honestly, it's Tim Cook. As I stated earlier, he has not been a good stalwart of the company, and they have declined and suffered since he took over, if you ask me. It's time to address that, and someone needs to have a fucking sit down with this guy, shake him, smack him around, get this shit straight. He needs to take a little stronger stance along the lines of Steve Jobs to right his fucking ship. All right, done with the Apple shit. Let's move on to the fucking Raiders hiring Jon Gruden, shall we? So, the Raiders, they just hired Chucky, Jon Gruden. So, the number that's being reported is like 10 years for $100 million. Again, that's the supposed number being thrown around. That's a lot of fucking monies, and kudos to him for getting it. He was sitting in a broadcast booth doing a cush job. He left to go back to coaching, and he's making $10 million a year for it. So that's crazy. But now there's an uproar, and about what, you say? It's not the money. It's the Rooney Rule. What's the Rooney Rule? Well, basically it states that the NFL must interview a minority for the position. Must. Okay? All caps there. Even if there's no qualified people for the head coaching job that are minorities, they still have to do this act of good faith. On the surface, you can understand why they do it, but it is fucking stupid. What happened to interview the best person for the job based on merit and knowledge and not skin color or sex? Anywho, the Raiders owner has been trying for years to get Chucky to come back and coach the Raiders. And everyone has known about it. It's been talked about for the past 2 or 3 years. But Chucky wasn't ready or whatever. He was probably holding out for this $10 million, $100 million payday. But then he finally says yes, and he's hired. That shouldn't be a problem. But it is, people say, because they did not interview a minority. So, let's just do a little scenario here, okay? Let's imagine. The Raiders want Chucky. They've been after him for years. Everybody knows it, right? He finally answers the phone one day and says, yes, here's my price tag. And the Raiders accept it, and the Raiders are excited. But wait a minute. The Raiders say to themselves, we don't want to look like we're racist, so fuck. We have to go interview some random minorities so we don't get in trouble and get fined and called racist and have bad PR over this whole fucking situation. So they then, call a couple minority coaches real quickly and they set up interviews. Let me ask you, would you want to be one of the minority coaches coming in for the interview knowing the rumors going around the league about Chucky and knowing you're being used to meet a quota, so to speak? I mean, wouldn't you feel used, cheapened, exploited, embarrassed? Isn't that what the Rooney Rule is supposed to fucking avoid? It makes no fucking sense. If a team knows who they want and has been pursuing him for years, why shouldn't they be able to offer him the job without jumping through all kinds of hoops to satisfy some affirmative action bullshit? Because that's what this is. It's affirmative action. And it's ridiculous. And it's a sham. Everyone knows it would be a sham and would only be getting done to appease the NAACP. Again, I get it. I understand, right? You need to make sure that racist owners and coaches are not blackballing people of color from getting a job. But if a team outwardly says, we want no one but this guy, and by the way, this guy wants us too, there should be no issue with it. There shouldn't be this pretend game taking place, this whole facade of bullshit. There should be no $200,000 fines because you didn't interview a minority. Besides, where does that fine go? Does it go to helping and training minorities in the coaching field? It should, or something similar, because that's what the rule's there for. So if you're going to find a team for it and take $200,000 from them, you need to put it in some type of fund that's going to be helping minority coaches climb the ladder. Businesses need to hire the best man for the best job and not feel a need to hire based off of color and sex and what good PR it would be to have that minority in that position. But instead, who is best man or woman for the job? Period. Just a quick update. The NFL found no violation of the Rooney Rule. Apparently, Oakland did go ahead and interview a few minorities. I'd hate to be those guys. They have to know they were pawns in this fucking game. All right, so some good news. I want to thank the Kansas City Chiefs, my hometown team. We all knew they were going to trade Alex Smith in the offseason. So I sent them a tweet which read, Alex Smith has been an awesome and stand-up guy for the Kansas City Chiefs. Do not do the man dirty by sending him to the Cleveland Browns. Thank God they did not send him to the Cleveland Browns. Alex is a true gentleman, and I'd hate to see him end his career there. But the Chiefs did trade him, and that was a little bit sad, but I get it. It's business. They traded him to the Washington Redskins, and I guess that's cool. But what makes it even a more cooler, I guess, is they involved Alex in all the trade talks and got his input. And Alex was the one who actually chose which team he went to. So fucking kudos to them. Applause to everybody all around on that. It was handled very, very classy, if you ask me. The Chiefs showed good faith and class, and so did Alex. So we could all be happy with the way this trade played out. Even if you didn't want Alex to go, you can't be too disappointed with the way it played out. On a side note, it's being reported that the Denver Broncos, John Elway, contacted the Chiefs and wanted to make a trade for Alex Smith. I don't know what fucking planet John Elway and the Broncos thought they were on, or that they thought this would be a good idea, but there is no way in hell the Kansas City Chiefs are going to trade a top caliber, top 5 quarterback in the league to their arch nemesis, their in-division rival. We're going to give you Alex Smith. I don't give a fuck what you're giving us. We're not trading you Alex fucking Smith. Why? So your team exponentially becomes better over fucking night with the acquisition of a top 5 quarterback that's going to be great for you for the next 5 to 6 years maybe? That's 5 to 6 years that you could be handing our asses to us with our quarterback that we gave you. It was never going to fucking happen. They were idiots to ever think it was going to happen. We play you twice a year. We want to beat you twice a year. We are not going to take a struggling Broncos team who doesn't have a good starting quarterback and pop them in with a top 5 quarterback that instantly makes them playoff fucking contenders in our own division. You're out of your fucking mind. I don't know how you ever thought that was ever going to play. So fuck you guys for even thinking it. You know, hey, kudos to you. Dream fucking big, but it was never going to happen. All right. So again, congratulations to the Chiefs. Congratulations to Alex Smith. And hey, congratulations to Patrick Mahomes. Preseason, he showed some great fucking shit. He played one game at the end of the season where he looked phenomenal. If this kid continues to do that, it's going to be a win-win for everybody. The Chiefs, the Redskins. It won't be a win-win for the Broncos, but who gives a fuck? So, again, congratulations to Chiefs, to Alex Smith, the Washington Redskins, and to Patrick Mahomes for getting a new starting position at quarterback. Take it all away, kid. So with that said, let's wrap this bad boy up, shall we? Again, episode 11. That was what we did here today with Cut the Shit podcast. If you get a chance, please visit www.cuttheshitalready.com. There you'll find some videos. You'll find links to podcasts on Google Play, Android, Stitcher, things of that nature. There's a link for iTunes, but guess what? It's not working right now. iTunes is fighting us a little bit because we have the word shit in our title. And so we're having to figure out how we can change our RSS feed to eliminate the word shit. I'm not smart enough to do that, so I'm trying to figure out and get somebody to help me with that. So hopefully we'll have the iTunes things resolved in the next week or two. The guy I need help with is on vacation till the 15th, so I'm kind of stuck for another week with that. YouTube. Obviously, when you click on one of the videos, it takes you to YouTube. Do me a big favor. Hit subscribe. You'll get notified of new videos that are put up each week. If you get the chance, hit a like button on those videos. It'd be doing me a big favor, and I'd really appreciate it. Share it with any friends. Just even if they just want to laugh at me and talk about what a fucking idiot I am, I'm fine with that. So, again, we're going to get out of here, let you go enjoy your day. As Ron Burgundy always says, stay classy. And until next time, thanks, guys.